Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reveals that the Islamic Republic of Iran conducts daily cyber attacks against Israel as part of Tehran's offensive campaign against the Jewish state. U.S. National Intelligence Director Dan Coats warns that Iran's efforts to consolidate its influence in Syria and arm its Lebanese proxy Hezbollah have elevated the risk of conflict escalation. A Palestinian teenager who rushed this afternoon toward Israeli security forces at the Jerusalem security checkpoint with a knife in hand was shot dead in what police identified as a nationalistically motivated act of terror. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu revealed that the Islamic Republic of Iran conducts daily cyber attacks against Israel as part of Tehran's offensive campaign against the Jewish state. In an address to an annual cyber attack conference that is taking place in the central Israeli city of Tel Aviv, Netanyahu stressed that while the Islamic Republic aspires to target Jerusalem's vital infrastructure, Israel, which maintains unmatched cybersecurity infrastructure, successfully foils these attacks time and again.
Iran attacks Israel on a daily basis. We monitor these attacks, we see these attacks, and we foil these attacks all the time. But the important thing is that any country can be attacked today with cyber attacks, and every country needs the combination of a national cyber defense effort and a robust cybersecurity industry. And I think Israel has that, and has that in ways that are, in many ways, unmatched.
Prime Minister Netanyahu also took the opportunity to respond to a threat that was made earlier this week by the Islamic Republic's Revolutionary Guards, in which it once again vowed to annihilate the Jewish state. Netanyahu stressed that he is not impressed by the threats, as he is well aware of Israel's military superiority, both in defensive and in offensive capabilities.
Iran threatens us in many other ways. They've issued in the last 24 hours threats that say that they'll destroy us, they'll target our cities with missiles. We're not oblivious to these threats. They don't impress us because we know what our power is, both in defense and in offense.
The Israeli leader referred to a threat that was made by the deputy commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, who announced on Monday that if Israel takes any action to wage a war against Iran, it will definitely lead to its own elimination and the freeing of occupied territories. Brigadier General Hussein Salami further stressed that the Islamic Republic's strategy is to erase Israel from the global political map, while underscoring that the Israelis will not have even a cemetery in Palestine to bury their own corpses. The threats voiced by the Iranian official came amid increased efforts by Israel to thwart the Islamic Republic's expansionist efforts, including its aspiration to entrench itself militarily in Syria, which poses a direct threat to Israel's national security interests from its northern frontier. To assure Israel's continued freedom of operations against Iran in both Syria and Lebanon, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met yesterday evening at his residence in Jerusalem with Russian President Vladimir Putin's special envoy for Syrian affairs, Alexander Lavrentiev, and Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vyshinin. An official statement by the Prime Minister's office said among the issues discussed were Iran and the situation in Syria, and strengthening the security coordination mechanism between the Israeli and Russian militaries in order to prevent friction. The statement further noted that the Russian representatives reiterated during the meeting Russia's commitment to the maintenance of Israel's national security. Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. National Intelligence Director Dan Coats warned that Iran's efforts to consolidate its influence in Syria and arm its Lebanese proxy Hezbollah have elevated the risk of conflict escalation. In a hearing of top American intelligence officials to the U.S. Senate's Intelligence Committee, the Director of National Intelligence stressed that the Iranian efforts are responsible for the Israeli strikes in its northern neighbors, and that Tehran's actions underscore Washington's concerns for a long-term trajectory of Iranian influence in the region.
Iran's efforts to consolidate its influence in Syria and arm Hezbollah have prompted Israeli airstrikes. These actions underscore our concerns for a long-term trajectory of Iranian influence in the region and the risk of conflict escalation.
Director Coates further warned that the Iranian regime is expected to continue pursuing its regional ambitions despite its deteriorating economy, which is weakening day by day. Also testifying to the Senate's Intelligence Committee was the CIA Director Gina Haspel, who claimed that while the Iranian regime was currently complying with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is the technical term of the 2015 multilateral nuclear agreement with Iran, the Iranians are considering taking steps that would lessen their adherence to the deal.
The Iranians are considering taking steps that would lessen their adherence to JCPOA as they seek to pressure the Europeans to come through with the investment and trade benefits that Iran hoped to gain from the deal. So at the moment, technically they're in compliance, but we do see them debating amongst themselves as they fail to realize the economic benefits they hope for from the deal.
According to the official statement that was published by the Central Intelligence Agency, the current assessment remains that Iran is not currently undertaking the key nuclear weapons development activities the CIA judges necessary to produce a nuclear device. However, Iranian officials have publicly threatened to reverse some of Iran's Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action commitments and resume nuclear activities that the JCPOA limits if Iran does not gain the tangible trade and investment benefits it expects from the deal. That said, while the report claims that Iran's continued implementation of the JCPOA has extended the amount of time Iran would need to produce enough fissile material for a nuclear weapon from a few months to about a year, the chairman of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, Ali Akbar Salehi, announced earlier this month that the Islamic Republic has started taking initial measures to develop a 20% enriched fuel that will be used for the country's nuclear reactors. Now back to Israel, where a Palestinian teenager who rushed toward Israeli security forces at a border crossing with a knife in hand was shot dead in what police identified as a nationalistically motivated act of terror. Jerusalem Police Commissioner Yoram Halevi, who arrived at the Azaim security crossing, which separates Jerusalem from the West Bank, provided a statement on the incident.
אנחנו עדים לעוד ניסיון פיגוע באחד הכניסות לירושלים, מחסום הזאים, מחסום שהוא פעיל במהלך כל שעות היממה, בעיקר בשעות הבוקר. מגיעה נערה, להפתעתנו נערה, בת 16, תלמידת בית ספר מרמאללה. היא יורדת פה למעלה, כפי שתראו אחר כך, יורדת ממונית, כנראה הגיעה מאזור רמאללה, מאזור הבקעה, ויורדת באזור המחסום, יורדת רגלית, מגיעה ופוגשת את המאבטחים, שולפת סכין ומנסה לדקור. המאבטחים שנמצאים פה יחד עם שוטרי מג"ב מגיבים באש, פוגעים בה, והיא מנוטרלת, היא נהרגת במקום.
A police spokesperson told TV7 that none of the Israeli security forces were injured and that a police investigation was launched to identify the suspected terrorist. Meanwhile, in the West Bank city of Ramallah, Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah has tendered his resignation and that of his unity government in what is perceived as yet another blow to faltering reconciliation attempts by the Palestinian Authority and the Islamist Hamas organization. While the Palestinian government will continue to carry out its duties until a new government is formed, Hamdallah said that all control will be placed under President Mahmoud Abbas.
هذه فترة عصيبة على القضية الفلسطينية، يجب أن نكون موحدين في كل أنحاء الوطن. بالتأكيد الحكومة وضعت نفسها تحت تصرف سيادة الرئيس.
Well, the office of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas did not immediately respond to TV7's request for comment. A Gazan source told TV7 that the move is aimed at marginalizing and excluding Hamas from Palestinian politics. Thank you for watching us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a blessed evening, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.